Hello everyone, today I want to talk about automatic scrolling in Emacs. Automatic scrolling basically describes the way Emacs behaves when the cursor leaves the screen. It's a comfort feature, but it might be helpful if you don't enjoy the way Emacs is set up by default. There are two settings that work together and that we will have a look at in this video. The first one is scroll conservatively and the other one is scroll margin. So let's get right to it. So, first let's take a look at the way that Emacs behaves by default. So the default setting is that if you jump to the bottom of the page with your cursor and you move one line down, you will get this half-page jump. So the cursor recenters to the middle and the page jumps half a page down. So if you are continuously scrolling, it'll look like this. Cursor always jumps to the middle of the screen. For some people this behavior can be pretty counterintuitive because, for example, if you look at the top half of the page, like at all of these functions, we're going to lose focus, or we are not going to see them as soon as we move just one line down at the bottom of the page because of the half page jump. So let's take a look at it. So we just wanted to move one line down, but we lose focus of all the lines that were up here and of all the functions. But luckily in Emacs, of course, we can modify this behavior. As I mentioned before, there are two keys. The first one is scroll conservatively. There we go. And by default, this key is set to 0. So 0 means that the cursor is always going to be recentered to the middle as soon as it leaves the screen. And what we want to do is we want to set it to greater than 100. So in this example, we're going to go with 101. Then we can hit meta X and evaluate the region, which will basically enforce the setting right away. So if we move down a line now, the cursor is going to stay at the bottom, like if you are like the same behavior that you are used to from other editors. And that's pretty nice. But we can modify it further in Emacs. We can set a scroll margin. And what the scroll margin basically describes is an offset from the bottom and the top of the page that once the cursor hits this offset, it will start scrolling the screen. So let's take a quick look. It's probably easier to grasp when you see it. And the key is scroll margin. There we go. And as you can see, now the cursor is at line 80 and you give the scroll margin in line numbers. And as soon as we move the cursor one line down, it will scroll the screen as if the cursor was at the bottom of the page. So we get this behavior. We can scroll up, and then once we hit the margin, the screen starts scrolling. This can be pretty nice if, for example, we go to line number 85 or something, and we have something specific that we are looking for. And for example, if we would be using the classical scroll that the screen moves once the cursor is at the bottom, we might scroll too far. So we'd have to scroll back. But with this setting, we see it a bit earlier, and we can just stop scrolling, and then we are at the specific line that we were looking for. For example, if I set the margin to 0, eval region, we might get this behavior. Let's take a look. Okay, so I'm looking for a specific line. Bam, I'm too far. I have to go back up. But if I have the margin set, I'm going to see the line or the specific line that I'm looking for beforehand, and it might be easier to scroll for you. At least it's for me. But one thing you have to keep in mind is if you're used to using meta R to jump around on the screen, so you might know it, the hotkey, if you press meta R, you land at the middle of the screen. If you press it again, you're at the top of the screen, and if you press it again, you're at the bottom of the screen. But setting the scroll margin will basically compress the screen, because the cursor can't move outside of the specified margin. So if you're used to using Meta-R, jump around, it will basically alter its behavior. So that's probably something to keep in mind if you want to play around with these features. Yeah, and that's basically all I want to show you. Have a nice day.